you feel like the ushers in a really great movie house, or I don't know, the keepers of the candy store or something like that. I don't know how you would say it, but you know, it's been great.
The canyon is deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You find that forceful beauty in the quiet places in the canyon. If you'd like to learn as many rapids as we had now run, we hadn't come to lava yet. And nothing is as big as lava.
Well, Lava Falls, sometimes referred to as Vulcan Rapid, is the climax. It's the climax of a trip. It comes more than halfway through the trip, so the Grand Canyon's made to order for a scenario of this kind. We come to the giant rapid within a few days of the end.
There it is. That's lava.
The water will be rather low today, and that indicates a right-hand run. We go down the right wall, and it's pretty exciting. It's not my favorite way to go.
I'll be down below it. I'll be on my feet.
Okay.
Lava down the right. You have a game plan, but you can never be sure that it's going to happen exactly that way. So a lot of times you're reacting to what happens after your initial entry.
I'll tell you when I get through. You know, lava's in some ways kind of a flip of a coin, at least the way I tend to run it, because you can feel good, you can have everything right, your boat trim, the right crew, and you set up, and things don't always really go out as you plan, just because you're running such big stuff that you can end up anywhere.
Lou Steiger took Ben and me on a perfect run through lava. Prudhoe Bay hardly took a drop of water. When we pulled to shore below the rapid, Ben was so fired up that he ran back to make a second trip with Martin. Eric Jodan and his passengers came through fine. Mary Williams had a great line, but got a little wet. Dougal Bremner's beautiful boat Skagit just kissed the rock at the far end of the rapid. Then we all waited for Martin. We had watched Martin come alive on the river. We had seen him scramble over rocks and row hard against the current. We had heard him rage against the government and recite bad poetry. It was easy to forget his age and recent surgery.
line, he pulled him out. All right.
There's something about being in a dory, not to criticize or denigrate, other kinds of craft, but there's something about being in one of these boats that is specifically made to be on the river, and that is almost a creation of the river, of its rapids and of its currents and stuff. And to feel with your two hands where the eddy line is between the upstream eddy and the downstream current, and to feel the sort of drop as you first approach the in this small, really basically in a small boat, approach this rapid that's and make sure that you've got just the right line. I mean, it really forces you to feel the river, and when it was Martin who initially loved that moment of release when you sort of abandoned control and trusted the river. People say that over and over again, that he
Right.
that the way Martin does it is he just lets go and trusts the current, No one feels it more than Martin. No one pulls harder against the tide of popular opinion. He trusts the wilderness and questions anyone's motive who wants to develop or change it. I mean, it's clear. You must have had an intense love for these places and these areas and felt a passionate connection to them, because to go up against these people, to stand up to them, to make the argument with so much force aligned against you, I mean, you and others, but particularly you, I mean, it's terribly daunting. It must feel to confront them.
Well, I never was confrontational. I was kind of chicken about these things, but I wanted so much to have certain messages get out, and I think I had to force myself. I felt very nervous in the early days when I was young to get up in front of a hostile crowd and try to make a point, knowing that I was being disagreed with and would be disagreed with, but somehow that went away, and now it's fun to be confrontational. If you can inject a little humor into it, and especially if you know enough to put the other guy down and put him in his place, I guess I've gone from the sweet and cowardly to the old and mean.
I haven't been back to the river since my trip with Martin. My son Ben went back later that summer. He got a job down there. Martin and I have met up a couple of times. He took me to a sequoia grove in California where he's been pressing the federal government to protect the big trees. Though we both spend a lot of time on the road, I'm sure our paths will cross. And what we'll always share is his river. This is the first song I ever wrote. Roll, river, roll, as long as you can be. Longest river I've done seen, rolling to the sea. When I was a little boy, I played along her side, or built myself a raft of reeds, and on her I would ride, singing, roll, river, roll, long as you can be. Longest river I have seen, rolling to the sea. Then one day I left my home, down the river bound. Sit back on my raft of reeds, I float past fields and towns, singing, roll, river, roll, long as you can be. Longest river I have seen, rolling to the sea. Well, the river is my life, and it's coming to the sea. And the ocean is the biggest thing that I will ever be. So roll, river, roll, long as you can be. Longest river I have seen, rolling to